Hi everyone, it's Andrea. Thank you so much for tuning in. So this video is as a courtesy to one of my YouTube subscribers. She watched the video where I was walking everyone through the loan documents, and she noticed that there were a few documents in there that I had the borrower sign and date regardless whether there was a signature line or not. And so I had to admit that there were some exceptions to the rules. And over the past few years, I've noticed that here and there are a few documents that I wasn't quite sure what to do with. And so I either had to call or I had to read the instructions or I had to figure it out all on my own. And so these documents that I'm showing you here today are the exceptions to the rules. And then the very last document I want to review with you that should be in every single refinance, every single purchase that you have, and how I am now adjusting my standard practice to accommodate lenders' requests. There's been a lot of confusion with this one document, and so I just want to ensure that I am not called back out for a correction. So this is what I am now doing to ensure that I don't have to go out for a correction. So that's what we're going to do today. So let me share my screen. All right, so this document, if you watched that video that I did that walks you through a loan packet, you will find a similar like document in here. And this is the payoff statement. It is from the old lender to the new lender, telling them how much is owed on the old loan. All right, so that's all this document is. And what I typically do is I will ask the borrowers to sign and date anywhere at the bottom. And that is the borrower, not the person on title, if that makes sense. All right, so there are a few lenders that I have that require the borrower to sign and date. And so now I just have the borrower sign and date regardless what lender I'm working with. Trust me, it won't get rejected. No one will fuss if that is not their requirement. However, they will be happy with you if it is their requirement and you go ahead and have the borrower sign and date anywhere at the bottom. So the second page I typically do nothing with. It looks like this. It talks about no numbers, no payoff numbers or anything like that. All right, so this next document, and I want to delete that. All right, so this next document I've seen in the package a handful of times. And so I didn't know what to do with it, and then I eventually found out that it needed to be signed. So this document here is for Susie Sample. She is the borrower. Susie Sample often gets mixed up with Susie J Sample, which Susie J Sample has a loan out for $864,000. And Susie Sample wants to make sure that she's not being mixed up with Susie J Sample. So that's what this document here is all about. So it looks just like this. I typed this up, but no lie, that's what this would look like. To whom it may concern, I, Susie Sample, is not Susie J Sample as notated on my credit report. I have no knowledge of a loan in the amount of $864,000 to Wells Fargo for the purchase of a car. And that's exactly what Susie just wants to make sure that she is not being mixed up with this person that has this crazy loan here for a car. Really? What kind of car is that? Anyway, so when you see this document, you're just going to have Susie sign it. That's all she's going to do. She's going to read it. Can you confirm that this statement here is accurate? If so, sign. And that's all you have them do. All right, we're going to move to the next page. This document here is the 1040. I do not see this document too often, but when I do, it looks pretty beat up. It looks like it's been copied umpteen times. It is typically very, very light. You can sometimes you can barely read it, but it's filled out and it talks about all of their tax information. And oftentimes it's like crooked on the page. And in my opinion, I'm thinking that it looks so beat up because this person filed their taxes. They printed off this document, and then months and months later, here comes the lender now requesting this document. So they've had to hunt it down. They've had to find it, and by the time they find it, it looks pretty beat up. So that is my experience with it. But regardless, if you see it in the packet, it is filled out. There's nothing you need to do aside from having the borrower sign and date. So whoever name is here is the person who will sign and date it. If there is no one listed here, so joint account, if joint returns spouse's first name and middle name, if there is no one listed here, no one is going to sign as spouse and no one's going to date. But if it is, then you're going to sign, they're going to sign, date. And all the way I explained to them, this is your tax return information. Can I get you to sign and date it? That's it. This next document, I don't see it too often anymore. And when I say that, I mean, when I first started being a loan signing agent, this document was a standalone document. This is the demographic information addendum. It was a standalone document, and you know that because there's nothing down here talking about page numbers. So now this document is typically attached to the 1003, the loan application itself. And you know that it's attached to the loan application because it will be page numbered and it will say loan application, yada, yada, yada. But this one does not. All right, so what I did when this was a standalone document is I would say, this is your demographics information. Can I get you to sign and date? And so they would sign somewhere around here, and then they would date it somewhere around here. And that's it. There was nothing for them to fill out. They didn't need to do anything with it. They just sign and date. But like I said, this now is attached to the 1003, the loan application. And so you do not have to do anything with this if it is attached to the 1003. So for the most part, now you don't have to do anything with it. No one is requesting that you have it signed and dated. But if you are dealing with a lender who is using like outdated information, if this document is by itself, then yes, you would have it signed and dated. All right, so this document here, I pulled off the internet, but it's simply going over their homeowner's information. And so that's the way I would explain it. This is your homeowner's information. Can I get you to sign and date? And they would sign and they would date it. And that is simply because, again, I have a few lenders who require that it be signed and dated, just confirming that this is, in fact, their homeowner's insurance information. Next document, you see how beat up this page document looks like? Yeah, that's typically how it comes as well. This is the wood inspection report. And it too probably has to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And then by the time the lender receives it, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. And it's oftentimes crooked on the page or really light or hard to read or whatever. If you see it, look down at the bottom. And what this says is signature of seller. And this right here usually says or owner. So you would have, if this is a refinance, you would have them sign no date. If you see this in your buyer package, you would have the buyer sign no date. But like I said, it is usually pretty beat up just like this. And I explain it, this is your wood inspection report. Can I get you to sign no date? All right, so the next document, I just want to give an update. This is the 1003. This is the loan application. You're going to see this in every single refinance, every single purchase, unless, of course, there's no loan. But you're going to see this document here. So in all the trainings that I had, when this document first started showing up at the beginning of the year, it was told that for an individual, so let's look right here. You'll see type of credit. I am applying for individual credit. I am applying for joint credit. In the beginning, when this document first came out, we were told that this document only needed to be initialed. This page here only needed to be initialed if this was a joint account. So for example, you see where it says, each borrower intends to apply for joint credit, your initials. So if this was not a joint credit, the borrower would not initial here. But there are some lenders that are now requiring that this be initialed regardless whether this is a joint credit or an individual credit. And they are now asking notaries to go back out and get it corrected. Well, if I'm reading this correctly, it says basically you're only initialing if this is a joint credit. So that makes sense in my mind that you're only initialing if this is joint credit, but some people read that differently. And so they want it initialed regardless. And there are some lenders that have not spoke on this, and there are some lenders that have and said they want it initialed regardless. So I have not yet been called back out to have any of the 1003s corrected. However, I am now going to ensure that I do not have to go out for correction. So I am now adjusting my practice, my standard practice, to make sure that I don't have to do that. So if I am prepping the documents, then, and I see this document here, and I see that this is an individual credit, I want to ensure that I am complying with all the lenders. The lender that wants it initialed and the lender that does not need it initialed. So I am going to make a copy of that. And I want to show you exactly how I do that. I don't think I have any special PDF program, but I might be wrong. So I make a copy of it. So I go over here and I go to organize pages. I go to that 1003. I click on it, I right click, I hit copy, I right click again, I hit paste. So now I have two pages that are exactly the same. So when I am now at the borrower's home, if it's an individual credit, I'm going to get them to initial anyway. I'm going to get them to initial anyway. This is not an issue if you have a joint credit, because that is already the requirement. We already knew that if it was a joint credit, it required initials for that particular application. So for example, if Susie J. Smith was also married to John J. Smith, Susie would have her loan application, John Smith would have his loan application. I would get Susie to initial right here. I'd get John to initial on his. For an individual, I am now going to have Susie, who in this situation is not married. I am now going to have her initial, regardless if this is a joint account. And then we've already inserted the blank page, and I'm just going to leave that blank. I am not going to touch it. Therefore, if I have a lender that requires the initials, great, that information's there. If I have a lender that does not require that information, great, there's a blank one there. So some people are saying there's no need for the blank one. I just want to make sure everybody's covered. I don't want to go back out. I don't, if I can help it. So again, if this is an individual credit, I'm going to get Susie to initial. Regardless, then I go to the next page. I'm not going to have her initial, and then we keep working with the document. Now, I also noticed that there are because this document is working with all of Susie's information, the amount of information for Susie may be different for the amount of information for, let's say, John. And so Susie's application may be longer than John. Susie's application may be longer than yesterday's refinance that I was working with. So I say that because I want you all to be cognizant of where the signature lines are. I have seen where the signature line is at the top of the page. And it didn't look like that's where it should be. But because Susie's information was, I don't know, so long, the signature line was different. It was, oddly on the page. But had I not paid attention to it, I would have missed it. So I want you all to be just on the lookout that signature line on this 1003 is not always where you think it should be. I've also seen where there are 2 spots that need to be signed. So Susie may have to sign underneath the financial information, and then she may have to sign this one here. So just be on the lookout for that, because not all refinance and purchases are the same when it comes to this particular document. So let's see. So like on this document, there was only one place that required Susie to sign and date. But like I said, I've seen on some 1003s that require 2 signatures from Susie. All right, so at the end of the day, what I'm telling you is you're going to have them initial on that first page of that loan application, regardless whether it's a joint account or an individual account. And you're also going to be on the lookout for the signatures. Sometimes it's one signature line, one signature spot that needs to be signed, and sometimes there's 2. Okay, so I hope I wasn't too long-winded. I feel like I was long-winded. I'm sorry. But hopefully that helped explain the few exceptions to the rules, the few documents that are not all that common, and what you should do with those documents. Hopefully that helped you. So thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.